Hey Trendsetters, hey Trendsetters, it's your girl Heidi. Welcome to Trendsetters Talk. And I'm here with the dynamic Thomas Haynes of Tailor Made for a King. Welcome, welcome, welcome,
Thank
welcome,
you. Thank you
Thomas.
for having us. Thank you for having us, Heidi. We really appreciate this. Thank you for having us.
Oh gosh, the pleasure is all mine. You out there doing phenomenal things. I told you right off the bat that every time I stepped outside, they was like, "Yo, you gotta hit this brother up. You gotta talk to this brother and this, that, and the other." And they never know that we did pass cross
Right, right,
on
right,
this path,
right, 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 right.
a while back. So I'm glad that we really had some times to have some really good conversations, you and I. So
Yes, yes.
and I want to commend you for the work that you're doing in the community.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's not easy. It's not easy being on the
No.
front line. I also
Yes,
want to
yes.
applaud you for getting your own space out in East New York.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'm going to step back and I'm going to let you talk to our audience more about who you are and what brought you here to this platform. Because if Heidi think you a trendsetter, that means you dope. That means you dope. I'm not letting anybody on now.
No, that's a fact. That's a fact. And again, we happy to be here and stuff, because when I'm here, TMK is here. So,
Yes,
so
yes, yes,
like I
yes.
said, we just happy to be here. So I would say for the last 11 years, I've been doing community violence intervention work throughout East New York, Brownsville, throughout Brooklyn. I done been to different states doing this work. So I looked for an innovative way
Put your
to
device down. You shaking up all over the place.
let me sit it down. Hold on. Let me see. Can you see me well still?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I felt like this work needed some innovation to it, and what I mean by that is a lot of this work it you know it is changing, is revolving and stuff, right? Evolving and stuff, right? Is evolving. It's like right now, a lot of things going on in the streets. There's a lot of big situations with the gangs. And a lot of these issues wasn't going on 10, 20 years ago,
Right,
in
right.
such the heights that they are now in 2025, especially like just in the present. And so we had to bring some innovation to this work. And in our style
What
of
is the
doing
work? So let's back up a little bit.
right.
Let's talk about Tailor Made for a King and what is it? What is Tailor Made for a King?
So Tailor Made for a King is a community. It's an organization that's about the community. It's an organization that genuinely and authentically work with the community of empowering our youth. And I'm not going to say that just empowering the youth. When I say empowerment, just sowing seeds throughout the community, through whether it's the young, the old, there's no age barrier. We're just building, and we're making sure that our people see people that they can identify with being successful and wanting more out of life, and them, us pouring in them and hoping that they could push that far too.
So I know that you said that this is a risk and high risk
Yes.
intervention,
Right.
right? So we trying to avoid it before it
Right.
comes. We trying to prevent it from it happening. And even if it does happen, you guys step in as well. So
So that's part of the game too, right? So we got at risk and high risk youth, right? At risk youth are usually youth that you live in communities where there's a lot of shooting, might be a lot of gang activity, just a lot of violence things going on and stuff. A high risk individual is an individual that's already in the mix, someone that's in the street life, somebody that's part of the gang, someone that probably got locked up, runs around with a gun. So these individuals right here, we have like tailored plans for both of them, right? We know that the at-risk youth, that they need a safe haven, so we change, people, places, and things. We get them places where they could feel like no one is pressuring them to do anything that they don't want to do, or they have these spaces where they don't have to worry about someone telling them like, yo, listen, you come on this block, you got to be down with a gang, or We want to initiate you. We make sure that the at risk, because of the spaces and places that we know that we live in, and that's going on and what's going on inside these communities, we create safe havens for them. What how does that look? That may look like them coming to our centers, us taking them on trips, just doing different things with them, because that's all it is. You gotta we work on changing the mindset, and it starts with on that level. So that the high risk individuals, same thing. We don't want them to get caught in that space, like thinking like, like this is it. Because a lot of us, we came from those spaces. We was once part of the gang. We was once toting the guns, and if people would have gave up on us, we wouldn't be where we at today, helping the community. We a lot of us felt like at one point we was a big part of the problem. Now we're a part of the solution. You know, so when I deal with high risk, to me that's like, the what I would say, like the man in the mirror. Like that's like me looking at myself at a certain time and saying to myself, like, yo, you know what would have changed in my life if someone would have pulled me and told me like, yo, this ain't the way, Thomas. Like, so to me, like it's a must that we do that. We change the mindset of the high risk individuals as well.
You and your team are so, so, so dope. The things that come from these families, these young men, it really is that you guys are trying to make our community safe. I mean, providing safe spaces, it's hard nowadays.
Right, right, right. And it is because there's so many different cuts going on. The centers is closing. You go to certain communities, they don't even the kids don't. It's idleness because they don't have nowhere to go. They don't have no community centers. They don't even have individuals that in most places where they could speak to, that's telling them like, look, strive for more out of life. Most of the time it's someone looking at YouTube rap music with them and stuff like that. That's especially older brothers that or older sisters that's trying to be young, saying, yeah, look, let me see the styles. Let me learn the new dances and stuff. Whereas I don't feel it's time for jesting. Like I don't feel like it's time for us to be playing and joking and stuff like that. I'm not a joking person. I feel like that we got to be more serious because life is serious. One of the things that I used to always tell the young people when I used to do my sessions in the school was like 2 3 seconds your life could change like this.
Right.
You could walk out this school and anything could happen. You could be inside the school and anything can happen, right? So you have to, you got to be present. Value what's going on around you. Appreciate the teacher that's taking her time out to teach you. Appreciate the fact that you're in a space where you can learn. Because the thing is, a lot of us don't realize, and we say it as cliches, like or we say it like just the fact that people died for us to be in these spaces, right? People lost their life for us to be able to
Absolutely.
pick up a book. It's just so many different angles and so much garbage we have to pull out our young people mind, and we have to be able to restore that greatness and stuff. And that's one of the keys that I really look forward and I push forward with what I do is restoring that greatness back in them.
I don't think that it's restoring it. It's just lighting the fire to it.
Right,
Sometimes,
right. It's
sometimes,
right,
sometimes that fire burns out, right?
right, right,
Or
right,
and with the younger generation, it didn't even get ignited,
right, right.
right?
It's right.
So, brothers like yourself and your team at Kings, they help men, young women help us to understand who we are as kings and queens, and y'all ignite
Absolutely.
the fires, and it's a great thing. You guys have such good conversation with these young men and these young sisters, and we need that. because it helps you to gain confidence
Mm.
within who you are, right? And
Right.
it that helps to move forward,
Yes, yes. And that's
right?
the thing. Sometimes what I notice, like you go to some of these schools, right? And some of the kids, right, probably in 11th, 12th grade and can't even do regular math, like, regular fractions or regular, some of them are still in a junior high school way of like work and stuff because, like I said, a lot of us feel that we just with the mindset like let them go by or let them pass by or we're not equipping them to be ready for what's and when I brought that up because we're not even equipping them with the basics,
You
like
know,
just basic education. Sometimes we're not even equipping them with that.
I want to have this conversation. Let's pause and let's have this conversation because you touched on a very serious, a soft spot to me, right? The average high school student graduates with an eighth grade level of education, right? So
Right,
you graduating from 12th grade. The
right,
average high school graduate
right,
in the inner city graduates with an eighth grade level of education. So, a lot of the parents get caught up on, okay, you passed, you made it to the next grade versus what do you know?
right,
You
right. What
understand? So I rather you go ahead and keep getting promoted and keep getting promoted than to hold you back until you learn, as you said, the basics.
right,
A conversation that I have with so many parents is if your kid doesn't understand the basics, how are they going to understand trigonometry? How are they going to learn
right,
biology? How are they going to learn calculus? And you're promoting them and promoting them into these more tougher courses.
right.
Eventually, that plays on their mind and their self esteem. And that's when they give up.
Frustration.
That's when they give up.
Right? They become frustrated youth, right? And what happened when you frustrated and you upset? A lot of people from my communities, they switch the light switch off and all that. And now they want to run around and they want to be down with the gang. Why? Because the gang create the false sense that I don't have to be so smart or it's no expectation. I just gotta be out in the mix. I gotta be able to spin. I gotta be able to shoot a gun and so then I'm good and everything in life, all other things don't mean nothing and stuff. Like me being out in the street, being lit, that's it. I feel like we just create a culture of the blind leading the blind.
Mm, mm. Come on. Come on. You said something that was really, really, really important for our listeners to understand. Times have changed. Times
Right.
have changed, Thomas. It's not like the 90s when we were growing up or the 80s. The ideology of thinking that we can deal with these youth the same way is it times have changed, you know,
Yeah.
and they see much more serious things and involved in a lot more intricate things than we can even imagine, you know.
Right.
And they're very resilient and very, very smart. You wouldn't even understand that this particular kid is tripped up in all that he out here in the street, but he's coming home at 6 o'clock and eating dinner just as well. But
Yeah.
he got
I
a
was once
whole
one of those
double
kids,
life.
so I know
He
I,
got
I
a
was once
whole
one of
double
those kids.
life.
Right. And that's what it be. A lot of young people live double life. That's why I say some of the best. This is why we use the terms credible messengers, right? Because most of the time why it's so easy for us to identify with these young people and catch little telltale signs is because we got live experience.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We did this. We know what it was to play like we a good kid. And I could tell you personally, I remember when my mother found out I wasn't going to school, but she found out 3 months later because I knew how to create a fake report card back
Right.
then with the copy machines and stuff like that before they got sophisticated like they are right now. So my thing is like like it is, you got to be able to see it, and when you see it, all these young people want you to do is pour into them, right? And you can't. I always tell people, right? You can't help a person the way you feel like you should help them, right? Like I'm gonna help you this way. You gotta help a person the way they need help, though.
Where they at?
Where
Right.
they at? You got to meet them where they at. You can't just say like, okay, I'm like that's like saying, I'm hungry, right? I don't like to eat fish, and just because you got fish and because I'm hungry and you give me the fish and you like, okay, yeah, I helped him. Was no, but that's something I didn't want, and I might be allergic to it, anything. So you can't help me in a sense of the way you want to help me. We've been getting help like that in United States of America for the last 400 years. And this is why we still captivated and caught in spaces and identifying with every other culture but our own and stuff. This is why we caught in those spaces. We're
Right.
caught in those spaces because we don't understand what it is to be ourselves. That's one, right? We don't understand, and a lot of people force identify with loving themselves. You know what I'm saying? And because and then even on the way that we measure success in America, right? We're taught from a capitalist lens of how success looks, right? And we measure it on tangible things, car, house, this, everything outside of yourself. Not one thing points into yourself that you measure success on. So you got to look at that, and when you see that, you see people like that. To me, I sometimes like I see those things, and it's like illusion to me. It's like it's like I don't let it bother me, or and it depends on who it is too. Because I'm gonna say especially if it's a young person, they speaking like that. My thing is I try to work on. I don't try. I work on changing that mindset, getting them out of that sense of like this is what it is and this is how the world is, and because that's the thing. The world could be anything you want it to be.
Right.
You
Right.
can you could have more, you could hope for more, you can inspire for greater things and stuff. You don't have to live life the way that other people may identify with you living life. This is why in our communities everything no is no individualism. Like no one doesn't want to be an individual, right? Everybody want to be the same. So like it's almost saying if I was with this person, it's like I was with all of y'all because there's y'all all the same. It's like a
You know,
robot mindset.
I let me interject, right? As a person who didn't want to be like everybody else. And I've known people who try to step into their own lane, right? That's a very difficult place to be in our community, right?
Right,
To walk that road of individuality because you get ostracized. You know,
right,
people come at you, even
right.
if you want an education, even if you're trying to do something. I had a young brother, and I said this before on the platform, but I had a young brother come to me and tell me, and hear this, he was crossing the street. He was on his way from work. He worked and went to school, right?
Right,
And I guess he was dressed like how, you dress when you going to work.
right,
So this young lady was walking with her two kids, with two male kids and younger kids, right? She was young herself, and she had these two kids, and they walking across the street. And the young lady turned to him and said, "Who do you think you are? What you trying to prove?"
mm,
And that hurt him that rocked him. Like, why would you even have this type of conversation in front of these kids? He didn't even address it with her, but I understood that he addressed it. That's how the information came to me. You,
right,
you understand what I'm saying? Why would he speak? Why would she speak like that in front of these kids?
right, right. You know, you know,
And this particular young man, he had it hard. This particular young man had it hard. He was like, damn, they used to chase him. They
So
use he
true,
got
right?
bullied and stuff like
Right,
that. If
right,
it wasn't for, his brother being who his brother was,
right,
I'm pretty sure we wouldn't have this conversation would have been a whole different trajectory running.
right,
You understand what I'm saying?
right, right. And
But
it tells you a lot though. Like that's how our communities are. You know, our communities are in a mindset of not unity and creating community. You know, this is why the CBOs, this is why Tailor Made for a King is so important because we don't identify, where we're in our neighborhoods, right? And our we don't identify with community. We identify with like I was speaking on individualists. You know, we're individuals. Like everything is separation. You know, we separate even though we may not seem like we're separating. Like the saying, right? You're in a crowded room, right? But you still feel alone and stuff, right? Because it's like when you actually identify with the fact that everybody is acting the same or everybody is doing the same and stuff. And like you said, being that individual, that young man, he probably had a great fire in him, and what happens is, you know, brothers go in and attack brothers like that because they see something in them that they can't see in themselves. So it's just like, like Tupac said, misplaced hate, right? We know who our enemy is, right? We know who keep their foot on our necks. We know who runs and destroy our community, even though I'm not gonna say this, right? I always say this too, right? When a police officer kill a young black man, that's a sad thing to me, right? But when another black man kill another black man, that's very sad to me though. You
you
know
know,
why?
go ahead. You go ahead.
And I see that because the fact that it shows like, okay, I already know why the officer may have killed you, or even if or someone with that intent to kill you for a reason behind, like someone had the intent to kill you from a racist standpoint or some, in that aspect. But for you to kill another black man, right, and be a black man, is to me that's even more sad, right? Because you don't love or identify that life didn't mean nothing to you, nothing at all. The life didn't mean nothing to you, and not just that. Most of the times, that same young black man that killed the kid or killed the other brother, he goes to jail. Now his family has to go up north. His mother is doing the same thing. It's both
I'm gonna,
families that's being
I'm
affected by
gonna
it.
stick a pin in it. I'm gonna go back to a word that you used. And I think that the word that you used was a very important word, but I'm going to take it and put it in a different context. The word that you used was enemy, right? I truly believe within the scope of things that our enemy is our minds.
Yeah, definitely, because it
You
starts
understand? So regardless of what we looking at, we trying to play this on 2025 terms,
right,
right? Right? So regardless of what right now, we have to change our mindsets because our mindsets are our biggest enemies.
right,
And we're
right, right,
talking about even in policing.
right,
Now, you wouldn't have to have established your organization if there wasn't things that were happening, real things, real issues.
right.
You're not even tippy toeing about
No,
prevent.
no. So,
We're
but
not tippy toeing. We go.
real
We
quick to
in.
tell you, I'm not anti-police, right? I'm not
No,
even
I'm not
racist.
saying that. I'm not
No, no,
saying
no,
that.
no, 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 no. But what I'm saying is, I'm anti-oppression, right? I'm anti-police brutality. I'm anti,
And as you
bad
should.
cops. I'm anti everything that's part of a
But
form of
let me
oppression,
finish.
right?
Let me finish. Because I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. But you wouldn't even have your organization if there wasn't things really going on in the street, right?
Right,
And we talking about as young as 8-year-old kids.
right,
that's out here now, which we didn't see a couple decades ago, but we're definitely seeing it now.
Right,
You understand what I'm saying? And I used to have I have a friend that is or was a New York City police officer.
right,
And at the time I was doing case management.
right,
So we had this conversation and we bucking heads, right? Because I'm out here like you, prevention. I'm trying to prevent these kids from getting caught
right,
up in the system. And he's on the side of law and
right,
upholding the law. And we got into this thing and he came out and told me, he said, yo, Heidi, I'm gonna tell you now. I'll pop one of these MFers because it's them or me. And I'm trying to come home to my daughter because it is that real in our streets. No matter
right.
how we try to cover it, and they gotta think. It is, some of it is what we've allowed our mind to
We
fester.
racial profile each other too, though, right? So
Right,
when I sit back and I listen to what you said about changing the mindset, right? And I agree with that, right? I agree that you definitely have to change the mindset, but I also understand too, right? So for example, I'm gonna stick to the drill music, right? So we know with the drill music that these young people do, right? We know that it's all about killing the dances. It's all about it's all so. Then I look at the platforms that allow them to get money and stuff like that, right? So it was an old saying I read in a book. I think it was called "Seize the Time" by Bobby Seals, right? And he said, how do we expect the people to actually put us down to give us a helping hand and stuff, right? And when he said that, it shook my mind. You know why it shook my mind? Because I said, wow, they give these kids all the platforms in the world, right? Even before was your own streaming, and even then now they got the streaming on Smash. So even when dudes be like, what, I'm doing my own thing. No, you're not. You locked in still to some type of contract where dudes is still eating off of you, and you may be getting more money, or it may feel like you're getting more money than this person was getting at this particular time with the system that they was actually doing what they was doing, working through. But it's the same thing. And through these systems, when you create these platforms and you allow people to think from these platforms that they could grow, but in the same token, at what cost are you growing individually? And this is when I go back to being individuals, right? And what point are you growing from this platform? How does this platform, by you being an individual, growing from this platform right here, right? Everyone that you talk, shoot this and we smoking on this and we doing this, right? Yeah, your YouTube viewers is up, right? They cutting you a check, right? They cutting you a check to talk this talk right here. Now it's so crazy because just not too long ago, I believe Meat Mills and all of them was saying, even with the big labels, how if they don't rap a certain type of way, they don't get no money. So what
right,
does that tell you? It's the system that creates, right? Because listen, if we understand black folks are very spiritual, right? We understand that music is a form of hypnosis, right? So
right,
you see the young kids now in the school, they had something called Nitty Bop or Diddy Bop. They was showing a dance. I mean, young kids, first, second, third grade, showing me a dance of stabbing, of how these brothers is beefing, and they talking about stabbing him up on a train station platform. And they speaking, and in my mind, I said, wow, this is how you create a evil mindset of someone that's supposed to be innocent, not even realizing that he's like, and they know the whole backstories because YouTube give it up. So they know the whole backstories. So it's not even like they don't understand, they don't, you like, yo, why you doing that dance? And, oh, yeah, it's Nitty Bop, da da da, he got stabbed up. But for you to be so desensitized of
right,
joking on someone
right,
being killed and murdered, do
right.
you
Now
understand the
that
number? Do you understand the
No,
number
I
that's
definitely
being put
understand
on
it.
the
I
mindset
definitely,
for you to be able to think and feel like that? For you
man,
to be desensitized to someone losing their life like it's just regular stuff, and then not even the fact of just joking on it, playing on it, like acting like, and then I'm saying to myself, wow, these people are really still have us in a slavery type of a slavery state of mind, and we don't even realize it. We think because it's not like back in the days in your face, right?
right. It's just
When
different. It's just
right,
a
it's just a different way now. When you think about the 13th Amendment, when you think about mass incarceration, right?
different.
What is mass incarceration, right? Mass incarceration is another form of slavery, right? And now you have the stakeholders, the owners of the prisons. It's $1 billion industry. To keep somebody in a cell is 100 and something thousands, thousands in months and stuff. So could you understand it? Then they so ill with it. They send us to other people communities to help create jobs for them,
You
and
know,
then we become a part of the population of their town so they can have more things coming to their town. Can you see the like, to me, the system got us so in a matrix that just starting where we at with it, we're just creating community and just like empowering our youth to love each other. To me, that's just a scratch of the surface.
I want to say something, right? Um, you mentioned something very important. The word that you used was system. If we understood, and this is the conversation that we was having just before we jumped on, if we understood that something isn't working, this system has not worked for us. This system never worked for us.
Right.
So when is it that we gonna create the system of our own? I go back and forth with Phil, and Phil is a guy that I'm on every Monday with having financial conversations, right?
Right. Right.
And Phil is losing his mind on seeing a Mercedes parked outside of the projects, or a woman walking around. I told him, I said I saw a lady get on the bus with a Birkin bag, and and she
Right.
was
Right.
digging for her Metro card.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? We have to change the system way
Right.
of thinking. We have to create the system that works for us. The reason why things have been the way that they are is because we haven't gone outside of the box, right?
Oh,
We've
absolutely.
taken, we, I look at the system this way, right? We ask for 10 band-aids, they give us 10 band-aids. We
Right.
squander 6 band-aids, and then when we get down to 4 band-aids, then we cry we need more band-aids, right?
Right. Right.
But the reason why we need the band-aids in the first place is because we out there killing one another, right?
Right.
So I had made up this analogy a long time ago, a long, long time ago, right? That we got the gun, right?
Right.
And we have the gun, and we shooting ourselves in the foot,
Right.
right? With the gun. We asked for the band-aid, and
We got the band-aid. Right.
we got the band-aid.
Right.
Now next time I shoot myself. Because this is what Black people do. They shoot themselves all the time, right? We realize that,
Right.
right? Now they coming now, you need a wheelchair. They gonna give you a wheelchair,
Right.
right? They're gonna give you a cane the next time. They'll give you whatever you want. But when is it gonna make sense for us to put the gun down?
Right.
You
And
understand what I'm saying?
right.
Because they've given us. Now, when a budget cut, when you hear budget cuts, that means there's been money there.
Right.
What did we do with it? How many times have you heard that the billions of monies is going into small business? Money is going in, money.
Right.
and we're not using it. So
Right.
now,
Right.
because we don't use it, what are they doing?
It squanders, like you said, and
Why?
it's back. We go right back to square one. And
They
my thing
cut it
is
because we don't use the money.
correctly, right? And my thing is that you have to use this money. Like one thing I tell people when I started this organization, I didn't come in with the mindset that I was going to be rich or anything like that, right? I came in with the mindset that I'm gonna change my community because this is going to be my legacy.
Right,
I took so much from my community that I want to be able to say, yo, look, I did this, and I was so happy. I'm on the 24th on Monday to say in City Hall Council Chambers that my mother is sitting right there and on down in down in the seat, right? And I said she used to come and see me when I was in the courtrooms, when I was doing other things.
let's back up. Let's back up. We didn't even bring that up. You got an award. You got an
Thank
acclamation.
you,
Oh my
thank you, thank you,
goodness. Oh
thank you,
my
thank you,
goodness.
thank you.
Talk to us about that. Talk to us about, and
So
even how that
TMK
makes you feel. This is like a full circle moment for you.
So TMK, thank you again, Heidi. TMK was given a proclamation on the 24th, and it was beautiful. You know, we was able to be recognized for the community work that we're doing. And my thing is, it's not always about being recognized, right? But it feels good though. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, just being out there and because when I was doing a bad thing, you recognized me and stuff, right? When I was doing the wrong thing, you know, I was recognized when I had the handcuffs on me and stuff, right? I was recognized when I was in the paddy wagons and stuff. I was recognized when I had to go to the precincts in Rikers Island. I was recognized then. So you recognize me for the wrong things, recognize me for the right things.
Right,
And my thing was just being able to, you know, be in that space and receive a award like that with my mother still right here and knowing, you know, or somewhat knowing the trials and tribulations she had to go through coming sometime all the way from North Carolina to come visit me in New York State Penitentiary. And knowing even times, you know, thinking to the, you know, when I was foolish in my actions, I'm in a courtroom with my handcuffs on, asking myself, wow, why my mother over here crying? Or and I was blessed because my father came and seen me the same way, just as much as my mother would come see me. And I used to be on the visiting floor saying to myself, like, goodness, why is this man sitting here crying and all that? Like, this is not, but not realizing that, you know, it's a beautiful thing to have people that care more about you than you care about yourself.
right,
Because
right,
then once you start recognizing that, and that's the thing that goes on with our young people all the time, that they feel no one care about them.
right,
So when you could actually create that mindset and show them that you care about them, they'll pull right into you. You know how many times I could tell you I done had kids, and kids impress me more than anything when they say certain things. Right, two things always stood out to me with dealing with these kids. I was in South Shore one time. This is a high school right over there on Ralph Avenue, and I was giving services. And Jermaine's daughter was actually in one of my classes before he came home too. And I was in a classroom, and this young brother, when all the class was going out, he came to me and he was like, yo, bro, you like an inspiration to me. And when he
wow.
said that, I was like, wow, like it shocked me because I didn't have that kind of courage to tell no one that when I was a kid. Like, even if I admired you, I didn't have that courage because it takes courage to step out
Absolutely.
and be able to say something. I didn't have that kind of courage. Another time, I remember I was in a junior high school out in East New York, 292, right? So I'm in a room with a bunch of kids. And at the time, I was a part of another organization, and my director came because he wanted to check on how I was doing in the classroom. So I said, yo, you know what? He came in the classroom. I was like, you know what? Ask the kids how I am. So he said, you sure you want to do that, Brother Thomas? You sure you want me to ask them? I said, yeah, ask them. And if you could hear some of the things these kids said in there, some of them said, Brother Thomas is like a lawyer, a preacher, a doctor. I was like I had to catch myself from tearing because I don't remember people talking that good in front of me unless it was something dealing with negative stuff when we had those false accolades that we got when we was in the street, you know, because that's what I identify with for a very long part of my life. So when I was sitting in there to hear these young men and young sisters talk like that and stuff, I was like, wow, like it blew me away. And it took so much in me, like just to hold myself together, because I was like, one thing I know about kids is two things, right? Either they gonna be, they it is, well, it's one thing. They gonna be brutally honest, right? And that one thing, they gonna be very brutally honest. They're not good. They don't identify yet, right, with kin about how you feel about what they say. So just to hear what they were saying, and even after the fact, when me and my director at that time, when we had spoke with each other after the fact, he was like, yo, you took a hell of a risk there, brother Thomas. Like, you want them to say. And he was like, yo, that was very impressive, man. He was like, that was very impressive for them young guys to say, and them young people to say that about you in the classroom. He was like, yo, they look at you up here. Like he said, so don't, and and he poured into me, even at this moment. Like he was just telling me, never see yourself here when everyone else around you see you here. You have to
Absolutely.
make sure you see yourself up there too. And when he said that to me, I like I said, I took it all in, and it helped me move forward with creating a mindset to want to do more, wanting to be more genuine at what I was doing and stuff. It made me say to myself, like, wow, like I'm in my 30s now, right? I'm in my early 30s at the time, and I'm like saying to myself, like, could you imagine if I identified with this when I was like 11, 12 years old? Sky would have been the limit. Sky's the limit. Like it wouldn't have been nothing. I wouldn't have had nothing that would have been able to limit me at those times. But just like a lot of young kids, right, that came from the spaces and places that we come from, you know, I wanted the wrong type of accolades.
Mhm.
Like I wanted the wrong type, when we was young, what we used to call it was props.
Right.
I
Right.
remember I
Right.
remember one of my famous lines from Nas was, props is a true thug's wife, right?
Mm.
And when I heard him say that at that time in my life, if I didn't identify with that 100%, I would tell you, if you thought that anything outside of that line just was so defining in what how I was living and how I was thinking, that anything outside of that line would have been a lie. Because
Wow.
that's all I wanted, right? I wanted to be the guy that was the gangsters over the gangsters, or the tough guy, and I realized that a lot of our young people, because people ain't pouring into them right and not telling them about, not teaching them about really loving yourself, right? Sometimes we just not identifying them with things that that we might point out, because we was taught, like, yeah, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that, you love yourself. But actually teaching them how to love themselves, actually being happy. You know how many young brothers and sisters that I've been in the classroom and asked the young ladies in here, who in here think you beautiful, raise your hand. None of the young ladies raised their hand. And then I would start speaking to them and telling them, like, yo, you're beautiful. Like your mother, your father don't tell you this. And some of them tell me, no, my mother, all she say is Beyonce. All the beauty, all the sexy women, say this young lady told me that. And I sat back and I was like, wow. So your mother could get you up in the morning singing a bunch of Beyonce songs, but she can't tell you that you're beautiful and that she love you.
I'm going to say, can I interject right
Yeah.
there? And like I said to you, being in the field and doing the type of work that I do, I've gotten to understand certain things about our people, right? You said something really important and really valuable. You said love, and love comes from within,
Right,
right? But how can I show you love if I don't know what love is myself?
right,
You,
right,
you understand what I'm saying? Sometimes we put a lot of expectation on this role called parent,
right,
and sometimes it's not fair. because a child has an expectation and the community has an expectation, and this one has an expectation of me to fulfill, and I don't even know what that means
Right.
myself. And that's how come a lot of relationships in our community,
Goes bad. Right. Right. It fails because
right?
you don't know how to. We don't know how to be. Most of the time,
Love
we don't know how to
yourself
be
first. You don't
right.
know how to love yourself first.
Right.
How can you
Right.
love anyone else or show anyone else
Else
love?
love when you
Or
can't love
how can
yourself.
you
Right.
teach love if you yourself
Don't practice
know
love.
how to love you?
Right. Right.
So that starts with you, like you pointed out, right?
Right. And like right now, when you think about it, right, some of the biggest like mantras now is self-care, self-love, and a lot of people are missing why those are so major now and stuff. Why is those sayings like so greatly like is and now what's ill about it now is that it's acceptable because they've been talking about self-love, love the afro, love your hair, in those times when black people were really unified, we've been speaking like that, right? But it's like now is out there and is more acceptable now, right?
We
It's
got
more
because we got
acceptable
to
to talk
learn
about.
to love one another. And the
Right,
only way
right.
that we can love one another is by loving ourselves. And that's what were talking about just before. It's not an external thing, it's an internal.
Yeah, yeah. It's something internally you have to feel like you got to be able to say, okay, this is and me. I always tell people that, right? Everything to me got to be more like it has to be. It has to start from within. Like I don't believe no longer in building from the outside in. I believe from bringing building from the inside out. And like I said, I practice a lot myself when it comes to how I speak to people, right? Because a lot of times out in my life, I didn't care about that. I was like very, very vulgar, very, very arrogant. I had to break all those was false identities that I didn't want no more. So a lot of people will see you and be like, wow, like, you know, and then sometimes you hear some black folks saying, well, what you think? You better, like you said about the young man.
Right.
What you think? You better than you better than me or you better than everybody? No, it's not that I think I'm better than you or anything like that. What it is that I'm starting, like you said, like we were saying, I'm starting to love myself.
Mm,
So if I'm
mm.
starting to love myself, now it's creating me, it's putting me in a mindset like, you know, now I could start, if I could genuinely love myself, now I could love you the way you need to be loved. Or now I could be more of a man, more of a provider, more of that shield for you now because, you know, even with most of the time men thought just the fact that if I beat somebody up for you or if I'm willing to kill somebody for you, that's the
For
that's
sure.
is
That's
that's I'm a man now. And sometimes, in our culture, that was really most of the time, especially in the neighborhoods, in the communities that we came from, that's how we identify with us being men. Now it's like, hold up, time out, communicating with a woman, seeing her as an equal, treating her with respect and looking at her like a human. Like, you'll see her now like you might see like me. I identify with things like that. Like I don't look at no longer the gender roles or anything like that. And what I mean by that is I don't look at it as one is higher than the other. I believe men and women are equal, and I feel that they greater. They is greatness and is different strengths in both. Like it's different, so I don't
that's the
identify with
balance,
one
right?
being
So we
right,
equal, we balance out one another.
right, right. And that's how I see it, that we balance each other out. Right.
But even within that, you got to understand your role, right? You got to
Right.
understand what the role
Right.
entails as
Right.
being a man, and you got
Or
to
being a woman.
understand
Right.
your role as a woman. You
Right.
can't be a woman playing a man's role, and you can't be a man playing a
Playing a
woman's,
woman's role. Right, right, right.
right? And we
Absolutely.
do see that now. We do see a lot of men that are feminized, and we do see a lot of women that are masculized. We got to figure out what role we're going to play to make this work. You understand? And for some, that works too.
You
You
know,
understand what I'm
yeah,
saying? But it is confusing with our younger generation.
right, right,
You
right.
you understand what I'm saying? Because we get misconstrued putting out the wrong thing, trying to make the best of a bad situation,
Mm.
right? And that's what's going on in our Black communities in some of the households. They're trying to do the best, make the
So,
best out of a bad situation, and it's misconstruing the information to our kids. And this is how come, you know, they can't even identify with
so,
certain.
so what I believe in, I believe in giving people choice, right? Like choices, right? And what I mean by that is not pushing my, well, however I identify with what I do and how I am forcing that down on you, right?
Right.
That means me allowing you to make your own choice, right? And be able to be who you want to be, right? But in the same token, I believe that we shouldn't push our identity, especially on real impressionable minds, though, right? That we shouldn't try to whatever we identify with or who we are, we shouldn't try to force it on them, right? Because they're impressionable minds and stuff like that when it comes
Wait,
to
hold on, hold on, hold on. All I'm trying to say is, right, and you went really deep. I'm not even that deep. I'm not even going into a gender identity. What I'm saying is they are some soft men. They are some men that, really took on roles of women now. And some women had to step up and grow testicles. You
I
understand what
mean,
I
yeah, if you
mean?
think about it like that, so thinking about how you saying, like, especially in the homes, most black
So
women
when
are
you
are
see that type
right.
of,
Right. So
when you see,
most black women in our homes and stuff, they become like the breadwinners. They become the ones that's playing mommy and daddy and stuff like that. So definitely, like one thing I do, I tip my hat to the sisters because I see that a lot of them, they play those roles, especially from our communities and stuff. They play they play the guardian of, I'm not even gonna say daddy. What I'm gonna say is the guardian, right? Because daddy might have got killed, daddy might be in prison, daddy may not want to be home because he got a whole different situation. But most of the time, it's the
right.
mothers that lock the homes in and they do what they supposed to do. So I would definitely agree with that. Like it's
So
like
there's more alpha women is what I'm
yeah,
trying to say,
no,
right?
absolutely,
So they
absolutely, I
got
agree
a
with
lot
that.
of alpha women and raising alpha women,
Right,
but not raising women.
right.
You understand what I'm saying? And a lot of times, because women are so aggressive and this, that, and the other, men will play a different role in the relationship.
So Farrakhan said, right? He was it I had heard him say that what happens is when a woman raise a man or you raise a young boy to be a man, right? That what that he has the man interior, right? But he deals with a lot of woman emotions.
Absolutely.
So he reacts as a man with a lot of women intention.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So and that's why I would say most of the time, and not, most of the time, when you grow up around men, you learn not to be too impulsive, right? You
Right.
learn not to be so sassy with your conversation, or you learn how to be stable, like stable in your mind. And and not saying that women can't do that, but most of the time women need a man that she could fall back on and be able to hold her up when she's going through certain transitions and stuff, because some of the transitions that women go through are nature, it's natural. She
And
can't
some
be
are
past.
unnatural because some are. some of the things are not natural,
Right,
like being an alpha woman.
right,
Sometimes that shit is hard. You
right,
understand what
right,
I'm
right,
saying?
right,
So we
right.
do need our men to support us. We do need, if we're going to role reverse this way, then we
No,
need backbone. They say
right.
women have a backbone, then we need the backbone.
No, yeah, I do. But especially times when y'all pregnant, especially times when y'all going through your menstrual, especially it's
When we in
menstrual
our
thing.
menopause,
Yeah, yeah, menopause
you
is a lot.
understand what I'm
So
saying?
it's a lot that men supposed to be able to step in and be like, yo, you know what? Let me help her because I know that she goes through things that are natural.
But
These
that's
are
not the only
this is
time
her
that we
nature.
need, and this is what these are the type of conversations that we need to have. That those are not the only time that we need people to step in, our men to step in. Our men need to step in. Not only it's good that they step in at those times.
But it's of course I agree that
No,
it's times that they
it's
should
good
step
that they
in.
step in on those times, but
No, the only reason why I point those out, right? Because I try to say that in a sense that when you a guy naturally, by it's certain things that happens that nature brings on to a woman, right? That and we could talk about gases that release off in the mind that change the actions that have you doing certain
right,
things.
right, right,
And
right.
and what I'm speaking on is a little bit more deeper level in the sense that these are the time when a man should be able to recognize these things going on with his woman and be like, okay, cool, let me help her. And but I'm not saying that that's the only part that he's supposed to play. But to me, because
That's an
that's
important part.
right,
That's
because it's
when
something
she's
that naturally
vulnerable,
happens to her,
right? Because when
and she
she's
goes into these
vulnerable,
vulnerable
our men
states.
should be
Right,
able to step in.
right.
And and that's just equally important too. I don't know. We done went all around the globe today. This is why I like talking to you, Thomas. We done got talking about all kind of things. This is why we got Trendsetters Talk, just to
No,
have
that's right. That's right.
just.
And I realized I forgot to go get my desk and all that. Now, but I enjoy it. I always enjoy speaking to you too. I told you, like,
Yeah,
a
definitely,
lot.
brother. And like I said, the platform is yours. We
Thank you.
fully support whatever you out in the community doing. Just let us know. We'll be out there. Little mini trendsetters will be out
Yeah.
there.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank
And
you. Right.
it is what it is. I commend what you're doing. It's not an easy job. You keep doing what you're doing, and
Thank you.
thank
Hold me up
you,
in your
your
prayers.
team.
Pray.
You're not
Yeah.
a one man. You're not
No,
a
no,
one
I'm
man
not. I'm
team,
not a one man
right?
team
So
at
I'm
all.
thanking your team
Yeah, the
too.
team, right? Because the team, we operate together, and like it's our community. We always emerge with other spaces and create community because the
Absolutely.
fact that we got a community.
Right.
So yeah, yeah, definitely, I agree with that. Definitely, it's not. It's definitely not a one man show at all.
No, 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 not, you can't take on the world by yourself. You
Nah,
understand what I'm saying?
you know.
So I definitely appreciate your team and what you guys are doing over there.
Thank you.
We'll be talking again,
Yes, I am.
this is cool. And then I'll be speaking to a lot of your team as well.
Yeah,
So,
because all of some of them I done spoke to and they already agreed to come on.
this won't be the first rodeo and this won't be our first conversation. So welcome
Absolutely.
to Trendsetters Talk.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here again, like I said earlier.
And you keep doing your thing, King. It takes
Thank
a
you.
king
Thank you,
to
Queen. I
raise kings,
appreciate
and
that.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. You be blessed, and I
Yes, you
wish
too,
you all the
Heidi.
success. You go ahead and do what you got to do. We're going to
Yes,
get
yes.
it right.
I
Right. You
it
stay.
was wonderful. It was
Yes.
definitely
Oh, as
wonderful.
always, as always.
Yes.
You take care.